Provisional ballots. Provisional ballots are ballots that will only count if something. These were created by the Help America Vote Act 18 years ago. And provisional ballots work a little bit like mail ballots, even though they're cast in person. Provisional ballots are as opposed to regular ballots. A regular ballot is one that once the voter has showed up in person to vote, I have gone up to the check-in table and said, "Hi, my name is Doug Lindner. I give them my address. If I'm in a voter ID state, they ask for my ID. If I'm not in a voter ID state, they do not ask for my ID. They find me in the list. They find that I'm registered at my current address, and they give me a ballot. And when they give me the ballot, or they show me to a voting machine, then by that point, my vote will count, because I will take that ballot, assuming it's a paper ballot for the sake of argument, to a polling booth. I will fill in the Scantron, like the SAT or the LSAT for this group, and I will leave the polling booth after I've finished filling it out. I will walk over to the counting machine, where there will likely be a poll worker who will instruct me to insert the ballot face down so that nobody sees who I voted for. And that ballot by itself will go into a machine. And by that point, it is too late not to count my vote, because it is too late to distinguish my vote from anybody else's, because the determination has already been made that my vote should count. I'm on the list. That's a regular ballot. Provisional ballots don't work that way. Provisional ballots, like mail ballots, get put in special envelopes so that they can be set aside and have an individualized decision made later as to whether that voter's vote should count where they cast it. So provisional ballots are better than not voting, but worse than a regular ballot. What causes the lion's share of provisional ballots varies widely from state to state. There are some states where most provisional ballots count. There are some where they don't. It all depends on why the voter cast it, and frequently these things are predetermined. The specific reason the voter is asked to count vote provisionally is very important. Some will count with no further action from the voter, some won't count at all. If they required the voter to follow up, it's critical they do if they can, and following up usually relates to ID if they have it but didn't bring them. No voter who thinks they're in the right place should be turned away without being offered a provisional ballot. But in some SDR states, I think there's 3 or 4 SDR states, they don't use provisional ballots because SDR can solve all the problems. Meaning, if you go up to the check-in table and say, "I'm Doug Lindner, I want to vote," and they don't find you on the list, then you just register and then you're on the list. Then you get a regular ballot. That's rare. Few states have that. But here's a really key thing I want you to keep in mind. A voter who is entitled to a regular non-provisional ballot should not ever be asked to vote by provisional ballot, because if you have a right to vote and you've done everything right, and the law says, as applied to your facts, that you should be given a regular ballot that has a 100% chance of casting, then you should get a ballot that has a 100% chance of casting and not some lower percentage chance of counting. So that's provisional ballots.